said similar personality traits.
Yeah, human behavior.
Yeah, that is true. I was talking to this one lady. It was about imposter syndrome. Do you know anything about that?
Imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
So is it something like where they pretend to be something that they're not because they're not happy with what they are?
Not
No.
exactly. Do you know what it is?
Yeah, it's when you are somewhere, but you feel like you shouldn't be in that position. Well, you know you are in that
Exactly.
position, but you just feel like, how am I in this position? This isn't me, but it is. And
It,
then it's like, I don't know.
it's funny too because I was talking to people about it, and it's always people that are usually high up in positions. Um, it's just like, I asked this one lady. She said, well, she suffers from imposter syndrome because of the fact that, she doesn't know if she's really that good. And I said to her, I asked her a really good question. I says, well, do you like think your bosses don't know what they're doing? Because mostly people in a managerial position, like they're quick to hire somebody that they know is fit for the job. So now at this point, are you questioning your decision, your boss's decision? And she said, yeah, she thinks that she is.
Well, they
It's,
shouldn't be hiring her then because they should be hiring her for problem solving, not just for.
but she's good at what she does.
Yeah.
And I think that it just comes from unsurety. Like, look, I've never done this before. Am I going to be good at this? Can I be successful at this type deal? If that makes sense.
For sure.
And so I think that initial, what people call anxiety, what I like to call is excitement, hits because it's like, I don't know what the outcome of this is going to be, but I want to try it anyway.
Yeah.
Kind of like this YouTube channel, right?
Yeah, of course.
And so I always like talking to people like y'all who are like obviously successful, and like what drove you?
What drove me?
Yeah.
I love the hustle. I love the grind. I obsess over the grind, and I want to never have to rely on anyone but myself
Okay.
to do the things that I want to do in this world. I want to get up, go take a flight on a Sunday, go to Dallas, Texas, after being in Florida all week. I can do that. I don't have to answer to anyone.
And you got that freedom.
Yeah, exactly. Because I made it happen, right? So I didn't have somebody take care of it, anything like that. But I was able to do it because I'm hustling. Right?
Makes sense.
So if you want to get trapped into a 9 to 5 that doesn't allow you to have the financial freedom that you maybe desire, or it's something where you're a slave to the job, rather than working to live. A lot of people live to work, which sucks because they don't have those same freedoms, and they don't have that same mentality that there's more to it in life than just getting up and doing the job, right? Like, I love that there's so much more out there.
Now, this is curious. Were you always like that? Did you always have that mentality?
Definitely.
Definitely.
Since I was 8 years old, I was selling candy on the playground.
Oh, okay, that's good then. Now, let me ask you this, because being in sales, I had to similar style of business, not to the degree of what you're doing, but I would run into people who didn't want the responsibility of it, and they were happy with just being a worker. And then you would run into people who were, I guess, like it seemed like they were motivated in becoming the person that was like how like you are. So do you think that is something that you got to be born with, or do you think that is something that can be cultivated in the people?
I think it can be cultivated. I think that people just have to be shown opportunity to be given a glimpse of hope, and if they can take that shine and make it brighter, then that's what will happen. Because everybody's capable. It just depends on what it is that motivates them. You just have to find that motivating factor that's buried beneath them to bring it out, bring it to light, bring it to surface. I think that sometimes we get stuck because of comfortability.
Okay.
But that's just not willing to take a gamble on yourself.
Makes sense. It makes sense. What about you? You agree?
Yeah, I agree, but I'm definitely not as much of a hustler as he is, so I'm like, oh.
But I mean, you don't think that you
But
are at all?
I do agree that it can be taught, cultivated,
Mm-hmm.
but some people definitely are born with that
Yeah.
drive, or taught it from their parents or grandparents or whoever close in their family.
Now, it's my opinion that like most successful people read a lot.
Read a lot? Oh yeah.
Yeah. And are there any books that you guys read or like recommend?
I don't really read as much as like the successful entrepreneurs do.
Really?
No, I listen to YouTube videos and watch like, or listen to like podcasts or like watch YouTube videos and stuff like that. I was raised by a psychologist, so for me, I was just taught to think analytically and to peel back the onion in conversation. And when you start to do that, it allows you to think differently because then you can see motives and then you can make more qualified judgment and make better decisions. So I'm in the business of people,
Mm-hmm.
so I just love getting to know the deeper root of a person rather than just the surface level.
That's interesting.
Well, your dad too. Your dad's like spiritual, or
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's true too. I mean,
Your family's fun.
Yeah, my dad's like a yogi, like at his core, he was a hippie, you know.
Okay.
And so he taught me from a very young age as well to, you know, be content with what you have, but be grateful for what you gain.
And I'm assuming to strive for more, right?
Yeah, of course. But not even him. My grandpa was more of the go-getter and hustler than my dad was. So I kind of skipped a generation.
I feel like a lot of things do skip generations.
Yeah.
When it comes to stuff like that.
And I think that can stem from just how he was raised and what he had to do in his life in order to be at the position that he got to.
Well, what did he do?
He fled Nazi Germany in the 40s.
Oh, nice.
To come to America to start over. He was a furrier.
A furrier?
Yeah, they made like fur pelts, like fur jackets.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And then came to the U.S. and worked in an assembly line, and then worked as a furrier again in New York City, and then started his own business. And it was that mentality of I've got to go out to the United States and make something happen. I've got $6 in my pocket.
I got to do something.
I got to do something. The fight or flight. So he fought and built his business. Throughout the years, and then eventually wound up. He started the first Rayco, and then he wound up starting an auto upholstery shop.
Okay.
Where they did the interior for cars and convertible tops, and serviced like everybody in LA and Hollywood, from Frank Sinatra all the way to when my dad ran it. We serviced Snoop Dogg and Snoop Dogg's house.
That's good. Yeah. Wow.
But I think that type of a thing can be taught, because he always instilled in me, be your own boss. And he said, don't look for anything with your hand out.
It's funny though. I feel like him being your grandfather had a more of a impact on it because he was related to you, and I feel like the people who were the closest to us have the biggest impact and inspiration.
For sure. I mean, like I said, my mother was a psychologist, so she taught me to go back then. My grandpa taught me to hustle. My dad taught me to have a noble heart and lead hard forward, passion, and So of course there's the people that raise you, or the people that hold you.
Yeah, that is true. It's funny. I look at my grandparents, and I look at my parents, and I look at like everything that they've amassed, and all of the things that they have. And for one, I mean, just during the time frame that they were, and just the things that I learned from them, I feel like those are the things that get me, that has like keeps me driven. if that makes any sense. And it's
And not wanting to lose it.
it's not even about even wanting to lose it. This is about being in a sense, a good representation of them. I mean, I'm in a sense a reflection of, like, I'm their offspring.
Yeah.
So when I look at all of the land that my grandfather owned, or I see in a picture, one thing I think, especially, like, when it comes to people with a darker complexion, I feel like, our past gets, what's the word I'm looking for? Altered, so to speak, to what it actually is. And when I look at pictures, I look at photos of people who are my grandparents, I'm like, these people are not like the depiction of what I've seen in, like, movies and things of that nature.
Yeah.
Like, I'm looking at my great grandfather, who had to be around in the 1800s, but this guy's in a full fledged, like, a sharp suit. I'm looking at my grandfather, who owned land in North Carolina, because that's where they're from, and I look at, like, how successful all of his children were. They all passed away now. And I find that real interesting, though, and so I can't not be successful, after seeing these things as examples. But I feel like the problem, at least in my community, is that a lot of people don't see these examples. Or if they see these examples, they see it outside of their family, and they think, well, it's them and it's not me, or it's them and I can't do it. And not even just, with, like, the black community, but just with all communities in general. I feel like just that idea gets fed to people, whereas though it's like, well,
it's what they're willing to accept, though.
It is. However, on a media level, I feel like a lot of things get the idea that being rich and having money and being successful is an evil thing, and there's always something evil attached to that. Whereas, it's not necessarily the case. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean, there's evil everywhere, though.
True, right? But
yeah,
if
evil
someone
everywhere.
And if someone decides for themselves that because of that reason that they don't want to be successful, then they don't even try. And the desire is a little bit less. But it sounds like, from what you're telling me about your grandfather, like, he just had to make it happen, and he made it happen.
And I think that's true too, in a sense, because a lot of people, if you say, don't think that they can prosper because of a certain situation that they're in, then it's up to them to hustle to make it happen, to get themselves out of it, and become smarter about how they go about it. There's legal, there's illegal, there's different ways that you can go about it, but the hustle can always be there.
Sure.
It wasn't necessarily legal that I sold candy on a playground, but I
but you were a kid,
and even
evil
as a
kid.
even as a kid, I figured it out, right? And so, like, as I grew older, I just looked for more ways to stay on the straight and narrow, but figure out the same type of way to, service a customer, figure out what they need. I made myself a very high-end middleman for a long time. I became an entrepreneur. I became a concierge towards whatever people needed, so that I could figure out a way to add value, so that I could figure out a way to hustle. So, like, let's say, as I grew up, I sold, and threw after parties for proms. And I started with my own, and then I went towards other people's schools and things like that. Like, I just realized, okay, there's something that everybody in this school needs.
That you could provide for.
It's a party.
Exactly. It's a ticket to, more financial freedom. That's how I represented it.
And that's I find that kind of funny that you're in this, like, I'm assuming, a similar business now.
Yeah.
Like with your
the lounge.
Yeah,
of course.
So, like, what was some of the, like, what would you say is, like, some of the most, I guess, biggest struggle that you were able to overcome?
Besides the lounge kind of situation, a lot of times what happens is that people don't take you as serious in that industry until you've made it to a certain level.
Okay.
Like, but you have to embrace whatever the negativity and the positivity that comes with it is. And as long as you're not screwing people over, they're gonna continue to help build you
Mm-hmm.
because they're gonna always want to be around you. And adding more to what you're able to offer than just one thing is what makes you more valuable. So maybe it started with lounges and started with, you know, hospitality, stuff like that, but, you know, it expanded into, you know, getting people event access and getting people hotels and getting people luxury condos or luxury houses, all the way up to, you know, planes and boats and that kind of stuff. So just kind of like, as you understand how to network, you find yourself cutting deals with more people, and getting more opportunities to kind of scale your worth, you know, because now people will use you for more than just the one thing that maybe was pigeonholing you to growth. So, and just utilizing those relationships to build more, you know, and using them as stepping stones to build grander purpose, you know. So if there's something that you were passionate about, now you have this big Rolodex that you can lean on once you've done so much for them, and then you can build.
That's
So
amazing.
I always just saw it as building blocks towards a great,
As opposed to stumbling blocks.
yeah, exactly, towards what you want to build in your future, right? So if I'm building a house, I gotta start brick by brick, you know? So
What about you?
For what?
For your job, for your business, for
Well,
your brand.
Mine's different. Like, it's more about keep up your appearance, and then if this client likes you, you'll get booked.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little different than. I mean, it's just a different type of hustle
Uh-huh.
than what him or other people would have to go to.
Mm-hmm.
Our hustle is just more about go this far and drive to this casting, wait there for an hours if they like. It's just about going to a lot and seeing what you can get back.
Okay.
But a lot of these girls are doing a lot and don't get anything back. So it's also it's a game you're kind of playing, or you just have to have a lot of passion for it to even
Make it work.
Because it could be very draining as well if you feel like you're putting in so much and getting nothing in return.
Yeah, that is true. I feel like that might happen with most businesses and most
For sure.
anything that anybody wants to try, at least for a certain period of time. Usually the beginning.
Well, the
and
beginning.
Then once the
trying to get
momentum,
your foot in.
Exactly, and I feel like once the momentum comes in,
well,
then
I think again there's also the relationship aspect. So like she's cultivating relationships and she's seeing, you know, kind of the things that are right and wrong within her industry, and, you know, learning as well. So if for instance she wanted to venture out one day and do something more entrepreneurial, she could.
Oh yeah.
You know, so I always take it as like it's an education component to like, yes, maybe some things are routine, and, you know, some things are, you know, make sure you stay in shape and make sure you look pretty and make sure, you know, you get your face, you know, facial
Oh my God.
this and that, skin clear, you know.
Yes.
But at the same time, you can also use it for education. There still can be that inner curiosity to build more.
That's good. Well, listen, I appreciate talking with you guys. Thank you.
With you as well.
Yeah,
Of course, thank you.
like I say, the things that you learn doing this business is just amazing.